So, if you don't know, Bernie Sanders was actually on a Fox News town hall yesterday, and this was Brett Baer and Martha, and they did the same lineup as last time. So, what's really interesting, and as I was watching this, I did watch the whole thing. As I was watching this, I was pretty shocked because one of the questions that was brought up to Bernie Sanders was basically, are you worried about Joe Biden's mental capacities? Do you think Joe Biden is in the mental capacity to run for president? She's basically implying that he has dementia or some sort of cognitive decline, essentially, which I was really surprised that question got asked. Now, I don't know if it was like Fox News made sure that that person's question got asked. I'm not really sure. It would make sense why they would do that for their purposes, obviously, because they're a Republican arm. But, you might be interested to see Bernie Sanders' response. So let's go ahead and check this out.
We're in Dearborn, Michigan, a big election tomorrow. We have another question from the audience, and this is Nina. Nina with a question.
Hi, Nina.
Hi, Senator Sanders. Some of Joe Biden's answers don't make sense. Do you think it's acceptable for a presidential candidate to respond to questions like Joe Biden does?
Well, let me just say this. Joe Biden is a friend of mine. I've known him for many, many years. When we do our events and our rallies, we respect people in a sense, and we give really substantive, these guys will think maybe too long-winded answers, but we take people, there are real crises facing this country. When I give a speech, often it's 45 minutes or an hour, okay? Because there are a lot of challenges that the country faces, and I got to talk about them. I think Joe was somewhere in, where was he? I don't know, Michigan or someplace else the other day, and he spoke for 7 minutes. I don't know how you say anything other than, minimal discussion in 7 minutes. So all that I have always believed is that if we believe in democracy, a candidate has got to be honest with the people about what he or she believes, given the many, many challenges facing our country. And when you do that, when you're honest and you look at the hard issues, so you're going to take on the fossil fuel industry or Wall Street or the drug companies, it brings forth opposition. I know that. I get beaten up every day. That's fine. That's what I do. But all I would say is, I'm not going to criticize Joe, but to say that I think the American people in this incredibly complicated and difficult moment in our history are entitled to thoughtful answers to the crises we face.
Senator, this isn't a personal attack, but it gets to Nina's question. And the question of Joe Biden's mental acuity is not something that just comes up anywhere. Democrats have brought this up, including Senator Cory Booker, who endorsed Joe Biden today. Take a listen.
You just said that 2 minutes ago. Are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago? Are you forgetting already what you said just 2 minutes ago?
I think that Castro has some really legitimate concerns about, can he be someone in a long, grueling campaign that can get the ball over the line, and he has every right to call that out. There are definitely moments where you listen to Joe Biden and you just wonder.
Are we afraid to say that a lot of his sentences don't make sense, that he's having trouble completing thoughts?
Senator, your thoughts?
I'm not going to go at that level in attacking. Joe and I have, that's for people to decide. All I can say is Joe and I have very significant political differences. And I'm not going to be making, personal attacks on Joe. That's not what I do. But Joe and I, but Brett and Martha, I think, as you know, we have, Joe's been in the Senate and I've been in the Senate and the House for a long time. Joe voted for the war in Iraq. I led the opposition against the war. Joe voted for the Wall Street bailout. I voted against it. Joe has been on the floor of the House over the years talking about the need to cut Social Security, veterans programs, other programs. I have led the opposition to those cuts. Joe's views on women's issues. Joe has supported the Hyde Amendment, which would deny low-income women to use Medicaid funds for their own reproductive needs. I strongly disagree with that approach. So on issue after issue, even in terms of how we raise funds for our campaign, Joe has the support of at least 60 billionaires funding his campaign.
Let me just ask you one quick question. You said a moment ago that he gives 7-minute answers. Are you suggesting that he lacks substance?
No, I didn't. Well, I'm just saying, look, I'm here, we're talking about real issues.
Right.
All right, and we can go on for 3 hours talking about them. If I'm going to give a speech to people, and that was at a rally or event that he held, I can't do it in 7 minutes. There are too many issues. There's healthcare, education, climate change, immigration reform, criminal justice reform. I don't know how you do that in 7 minutes. So all that I'm saying, Martha, is that I think as a candidate for president, you owe respect to the people, and you have to have the courage or the desire to say, hey, this is where I'm coming from. This is my view. You disagree with me? Fine. But I can't do that in 7 minutes of a speech.
All right.
So as you guys just saw there, Bernie Sanders, obviously the answer that he gave, you can't really expect him to give a different answer for a couple of reasons, obviously. But the main reason being, if he is to come out and outright say, I'm concerned about Joe Biden's mental faculties or he has dementia, everyone's going to perceive it as this personal attack. The media is going to start maligning him. Everybody's going to start hating on him. They're like, oh, you're a dirty person, you're being a low person, you're a low life and all this stuff. Stop doing these personal attacks. They're going to get all offended. So he can't do that no matter what. I was just honestly curious to see what Bernie's response was going to be, just for the hell of it, right? So he says there Biden is his buddy. Now, in that scenario or that circumstance, it may be appropriate to bring up that, oh, he's your buddy or whatever. But obviously, I am not somebody who is a proponent of Bernie Sanders constantly basically saying that Joe Biden is his friend, Joe Biden is his amigo. I'm not a fan of that, because to me that just softens the blow. Every time you're criticizing him, when you say that, everybody's like, oh, well, it softens the blow, right? Nobody really cares anymore what you say when you do that. But another interesting piece to throw in here, actually, Castro has not endorsed Joe Biden. He probably will, though, just like the rest of the establishment. Julian was part of the Obama administration. He was HUD secretary. But Cory Booker has already endorsed. He endorsed yesterday Joe Biden. So what you see is a lot of these people, right, making these pretty crazy, criticisms of the opponent, right, and then endorse. That's how powerful Barack Obama and the Democratic establishment are. Cory Booker, as you saw in that clip right there, saying, yeah, Julian's got a point. We do got to be worried about Joe Biden's mental faculties and whether or not he can actually be able to, run a campaign and all this stuff. But then he endorses him. And so it's like, did you really believe that? Or are you compromising your beliefs? What is going on exactly, right? But he couldn't really say much else. I think what he said was probably as far as he could go. He pretty much went as far as he could, but really interesting to see Bernie Sanders talking about Joe Biden possibly having dementia, and also Fox News, obviously. They want that question because they're trying to get ratings and trying to sow discord, obviously, amongst the Democrats. But it is an issue that people need to know about. Joe Biden definitely has dementia easily, and I like how he kept pointing out. He was trying to do it in the most roundabout way possible. He kept saying, like, he only talks for 7 minutes. He was trying to hint at it to you. He was trying to be like, he was trying to say it without coming out and actually saying it out front, right? He was like, Joe can only talk for 7 minutes. He kept saying that over and over again, where he's like, I talk for 45. So if you were able to get his sort of, his coded message, his covered message, right? It is that, yeah, he can't really do this anymore. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this, but I think that's pretty much all he could do, to be quite honest with you. I don't see what else he could have said there.